Welcome back to Newsnight. Majority Leader Amos Kimunya still here with us in studio. We're getting a lot of feedback, which I'll be reading a bit later on. But let's delve into a little bit about what he had to say earlier on when we began this interview. Honorable Kimunya, let's talk a little bit about this letter. And I actually have it here from Rungu Kang'ata to the President and CC to others as well. You spoke of his inexperience, right? I want to put that aside. I want to invite you to discuss the contents of the letter. The first concern is that young people and women where he did the poll primarily did not support BBI. Now, I'm not sure which BBI he meant, but it shows the uphill task for the proponents of BBI, because when you mention that word, according to Kang'ata's unscientific survey, there is opposition. What can be done to counter that? Because he says of the 6 out of 10 who said we oppose, many were young people, many were women. Now, first of all, we don't know where he did it. Muranga. Primarily, and he says...
No, he said Muranga.
Yes.
But where in Muranga? Senator Kang'ata comes from...
He's not here.
He comes from Kiharu, right? That's his home, Kiharu. Kiharu is also home to his former staff member and now the current member of parliament, Dindi Nyoro, right? Who is anti-BBI, right? So, first of all, if you are doing any sampling, you must know that, A, within Kiharu, you'd expect some hostility. If he says in Kiharu, there was 6%, or 60% did not like. In Kangema, there was this. In Kigumo, there was this. He has not given us that information. Yeah? So that's what I'm saying. If he went to some local Mungedo somewhere in Kiharu and found some youngsters waiting around there and they ask him, he asked them, what do you think of BBI? And the first thing they know is that because he's known to be very close to Honorable Dindi Nyoro, who was also the best man in his wedding.
But he's also the majority whip?
No. First of all, at the local level.
Okay.
They don't care about the whip. What do they know? The relationship between Honorable Kang'ata and Honorable Nyoro is that these two are buddies. This was his best man. He also left the seat to him. He was also his employee. So what are they likely to answer? They will answer what they think he wants to hear. Okay? Is that not natural? So there are so many biases in research you must eliminate. Yeah? And he has not told us how he controlled for all those biases. Right. But be that as it may, however you get, even if it was so scientific, had he even commissioned Ipsos or one of these other research firms, and they went and did a very scientific research, and they gave him information. How do you communicate that information to the person you think you are addressing? Yeah? The president of the nation. First of all, is the president the one who is spearheading the BBI process? There's a BBI secretariat, right? Now, if Honorable Kang'ata does not know there's a BBI secretariat, yeah, then perhaps he doesn't even know what is happening. So the first thing he would have said is, I want to look for Dennis Waweru and Junet Mohammed and tell them, I've been to Muranga, I've carried this research, and these are the findings. So you as the BBI Secretariat, can you factor this as you go forward? What is he telling the president to do, right? Rather than to be seen as an advisor to the president. You know, this is amateurism. I mean, I've been in cabinet for long. I mean, there's a saying there are things you don't do to the president.
That because of the importance of BBI as part of the president's legacy, did he just see it fit to, quote unquote, cut out the middleman, get straight to where decisions can be made?
The president and his partner on the BBI, Excellency Raila Odinga, they have created a BBI National Secretariat. So anyone who has any input to make on the BBI should be taking it to the Secretariat. When you are taking it to the president through the Jubilee Party, you are reducing BBI is like a Jubilee affair, right? But BBI is not a Jubilee affair. Jubilee is a product of handshake between two principals, right? Who have also created structures on how to take it forward, right? So, and I think this is a pointer to anyone who believes they have concerns on how BBI is the whole BBI process is taking place in their countries. There's a BBI National Secretariat. Channel your views there.
Should he also have channeled the view that there is a factional agenda within BBI Jubilee factionalism, which is that part of Jubilee is not supporting the BBI. And you've talked about even the constituency where he may have gotten that data. Mm-hmm. Does that concern you? Have you looked at Kang'ata's letter and thought to yourself, if a quarter of what he's saying is correct, or a half, should there be cause for concern? Maybe from Jubilee, because that's where
obviously the fact that he has even talked about it is cause for concern, because he could be an agent of confusion. All right? And the fact that he has talked about it and brought some negativity and injected also negative energy, that we are discussing this matter instead of discussing other issues, is cause for concern. That had he not written this letter, we would have been now talking about what do we do with the vaccine, what do we do with revamping the economy. But we are wasting so much time talking about some misdirected energy by a guy who just wanted publicity. Okay? Whether he got the publicity or not, I'm not sure. But the issue is, obviously, we all know that BBI, as an amendment, like every other referendum, the reason you have a referendum is there are people who support or oppose. Yeah? And the whole point is the two parties need to sell their point to get as many people supporting their view and reduce the people who are opposing it. That selling has not started. Certainly, I've not seen a no camp that has been unleashed. I've not seen a yes camp that has been unleashed. But there have been efforts. We saw before coronavirus was declared a major concern, we did see several rallies across. There are people who went there and said this BBI is about President Kang'ata wanting to extend his term, right? President Kang'ata himself has come and said, I don't want to extend my term, right? Because people wanted to sell it that, oh, you're only doing BBI to block succession, right? By extending, doing a putney, yeah? By him converting into a prime minister and all that so that he can extend. He has come out very clear and said, I don't want to extend my term. I'm doing this for purposes of unifying Kenyans. Honorable Raila Odinga has said, I'm doing this for purposes of uniting Kenyans. He's not decided whether he's running or not. So the first thing we need to first of all to do is let's divorce BBI politics, yeah, or the BBI initiative from the politics of 2022. Immediately we divorce that, then we start getting clarity in terms of the content rather than looking at what is the impact of those contents on the potential contenders in 2022. Okay. Yeah? And this is because the people who are gunning for 2022, yeah, are looking for every straw, yeah, to latch on. Yeah? Because whenever they feel threatened, oh, BBI is a problem, COVID is a problem. Now we can't go to the churches and do harambes because there's COVID. So you're stopping rallies because of 2022, much as the whole world is on a lockdown. Yeah? And that is creating a lot of confusion. Yeah? You're telling the youth of this country that they are poor, that they need wheelbarrows and all those things because of money is going to BBI. But what you're not telling them truth is that industries have closed, the flow of money has reduced, the revenue generation by government has reduced because of reduced activity and productivity due to COVID. But and I want to you're actually taking me to my next point, and I want to talk a bit about that. Yeah. In his letter, he talks about there is a general feeling, I'm quoting Kang'ata's letter, there's a general feeling of economic deprivation at household levels in the region. Yes. We could expand this and say across the country. Yes, across the world. And across the world. But before it's not COVID, Kenya. Hang on, before COVID, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics stated that 40% of Kenyan youth are unemployed. Yes. There was an issue before COVID, Mheshimiwa. Exactly. So is it fair to blame COVID for the current economic uncertainty alone? Our demographics are such that we have more people, at the lower age groups, right? They're entering school, they're finishing school, they're entering into job market. Has our economy been growing at a faster rate than our population growth? Right? Is our capacity to create jobs matched by the growth in population? Everyone believes that you need a youth bulge, yeah? That a youthful population could grow the population. But unless you are also increasing the productive capacity of the land, right? You get into a Malthusian situation where you have more mouths eating less the less produced food. Our national cake has not been growing as fast as the number of mouths eating into it.
Why is that?
Partly because it's, even if the country is growing at 5% and population is growing at 3%, right? Right? Now, you got more people getting in, yeah? The jobs are not growing as fast, yeah? So, look at all these university graduates who have come out, yeah? In the earlier days, employers used to go to universities to recruit people, right? Now, graduates have to wait for how many more years to even get a job? Yeah?
But surely you serve, and I'm asking you these questions because you're majority leader. In fact, we have broadened the discussion.
Yeah.
I now want to understand what your plan is to revive the economy. All over the world, we know governments are restructuring their economies to respond to the pandemic. Although in Kenya, we did have an unemployment challenge even before the pandemic. We know where the National Assembly is in terms of the budget-making process, 2021, 2022. What measures are being considered for economic recovery? Because this population boom is not a surprise. Government knows that we're going to have more. So why not prepare for that?
Government has known. And I believe that's how, if you go back to Vision 2030 that was launched in 2008, it foresaw all those things and said the economy of Kenya needs to grow at about 10% per year over the next so many years so that you can move from the per capita GDP then to GDP of 2,000 plus by close to 2030 so that you can at least ensure, yeah? And this was going to come through some targeted investments in terms of agriculture, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of the various sectors, and also investments within the social sectors. So the investment in health, investment in education, and all that. Now, let's fast forward to 2017. Jubilee promised a number of things. Social sector, every child must, up to secondary school, must be paid for their full education, day school. Mothers for the first 1 year, maternity cost to be born. Then all that then got translated into the Big Four agenda, you know, ensure that people have food security. Food security is not just production. It makes people have even money to buy food. Nobody will sleep hungry, yeah, when you're Kenyan. Nobody will fail to go to hospital or have to mortgage land because there's universal health coverage. Nobody will live in decent housing because we can afford some affordable housing, right? And jobs will be created through industrialization, right? Now, as we started that process, President was then left alone implementing, right? Because some of his very faithful assistants decided to go on a vote hunt.
But he has not been president from 2017. He's been president from 2013.
Exactly, but I'm looking at the Big Four. The Big Four agenda was launched in 2017, right? Between 2013 and 2017, I think there's lots of commitment that were made, yeah? We want to electrify every home. Costs, was they factored? Yeah? We want to do the railway. If you ask me, surely, I would not have done the component from Naivasha, Nairobi to Naivasha. It's 160 billion, yeah? We could have put that money elsewhere. Because the return on that railway, there isn't any economic activity to guarantee that in the foreseeable future, yeah? Right? But I think there was, I don't know what happened. I was not there. I wish I was there. I would have advised otherwise, yeah? But there was lots of populist issues that were brought in, that are costing us and that increase the debt burden.
You speak like a man who also wants to write a letter.
No, I'm not writing a letter.
We won't see one from you.
I'm being analytical. I'm looking at the facts of the table.
Okay.
From the figures from National Bureau of Statistics.
What's government agenda for the year as majority leader?
Now, from going forward.
Economy and reduction of debt. Talk to me about that.
Going forward, is we know the debt is not good, okay? Because the more you continue borrowing, the more you suppress, because you have to repay, the more you suppress other expenditures. Now, so we must, Kenyans would have to prepare for some belt tightening, yeah?
Do they have any more belt to tighten?
Yes. Yeah, there are so many, every time you hear Whenever the president or deputy president goes to an area, they say, tunataka barabara, tunataka nini. And because of politics of 2022, people say we are going to factor it. Yeah? Now, the more you commit to some of those things for political purposes, it also drains on what else you need to do to support key areas like manufacturing. Yeah? So some prioritization will have to be made to see that you're not going to revamp the economy of this country by giving people wheelbarrows. Okay? Because if you give everyone a wheelbarrow, what are they going to do with them? Who will lend the wheelbarrow to one another? They will need some money trickling in from a higher source so that the wheelbarrow guy has work to do, right? Yeah? The so-called hustlers cannot give work to one another. They will need a middle class that hires them. The middle class requires a higher class. But when you hear now the politics going around is about that we need to just worry about people at the bottom of the pyramid.
Okay.
And forget about these other guys. And what does that mean? If you're an investor and you're listening to the policies of Kenya going forward, would you come and put your money in Kenya or go to Ethiopia? Where investors, or Rwanda, where investors are being told, come and bring your investment so that it can trickle down to the common man. If we are saying we don't care about the big companies, we don't care about Safaricom, we don't care about Brookside, we don't care about those things, what we want is to empower the people at the bottom, right? What are the people at the bottom going to do? We should be investing in drones. We should be investing in nanotechnology.
Okay.
We should be investing in vaccine production.
And you, as majority leader, you are in the right place for all those things. And those things you're pushing for as your agenda.
I agree. But you see, first of all, we need to support President Kang'ata on his Big Four agenda, which some people, even his own government, are doubting. Because they believe, they keep talking of, he has abandoned Big Four in favor of BBI. President Uhuru has not abandoned Big Four. He's very passionate. Look at what's happening to Mukuru kwa Ruben. Houses are coming up. Look at what is happening in Nairobi City. Look at the floating bridge in Mombasa. Look at all these other investments. Look at the overpass along Hurawi. Who is talking about those things? When we talk in the rallies, people are just talking of that the big people are comfortable, the people at the bottom have been marginalized. You are creating a cult, a class war of people who feel that they are suffering because others are getting better, right? You're not even explaining to them that the reason we have big debt is because we are also doing all these roads. I listened to politicians in Kwale, in Msambweni during the homecoming. And there was a whole list of, we've done for us the following roads, right? Nobody bothered to say, these roads that we did are a component of the debt burden, right? Because they are not financed from Kenya shillings, they have been financed from debt. But in the same meeting, people are saying, but the biggest problem we have is we have a higher debt, right? Now, if I was there in that meeting, as a senior person in government, I would have said, the reason we've been able to do these roads is we have had to borrow this money. So you don't blame the president for borrowing and take credit for having gone to launch those roads, right?
Where does your
and
argument
you're in the same
fit?
government.
Where does your argument fit with those who feel that inflation of mega projects has been a key mode of corruption in recent days? That's right, the roads are there, we agree, but when you look at the value per kilometer, for example, that costs are inflated far above what could happen in other parts of the world.
Well, I wouldn't say whether we have had value for money or not, because I would want our Auditor General, who we pay, to actually give us that assessment. But obviously, there's been concern that the cost per kilometer may have been inflated, and on a number of projects between 2013 to 2017 may well have been procured for procurement value rather than for, the value to the Kenyan people. So those arguments have been there, and eventually, the figures will come out.
Honorable Kimunya,
but the bottom line, yes. The bottom line is that yes, what I don't buy is people who are in government, because we are in National Assembly. Ours is to oversee the government. But when you see the people, senior people in government, questioning their own decisions that they have made in cabinet, yeah, and trying to blame the president, right, and to show that it's a problem of the president, and then they are not part of it, and when they come in 2022, they are going to create some magic, abracadabra, and all of a sudden the economy will revamp. That I have a problem with.
That you have a problem with.
Yes.
Now, the topic of the economy, which we picked up actually from the letter that Kang'ata wrote about economic deprivation, is one that we could spend some time on. Hopefully, you'll give me another chance for us to talk about that, because you sit in a place where you could make decisions on that. But do you support, should it come before the House, a raising of the debt ceiling beyond 9 trillion?
If there's a rationale for what are we going to raise this money for, yeah, if Kenya needs another 1 trillion shillings for a specific reason to revamp the economy, I would support it. The US just agreed
to revamp the economy
with specific inputs that we are going to do 1, 2, 3 to achieve the following outputs. The US just did bill to say we're going to pay $600 to each of these people, $1 billion, close to $1 trillion. They up to that by another 1 trillion to make it 2,000 per person. It's a critical investment. You're saying in every American they're going to invest $2,000 to cushion them against the effects of COVID. If Treasury was to come to the National Assembly and say, we want to give every Kenyan, as part of cushioning them from COVID, or every Kenyan company, so much money, and within this period, so we need so much money and we need to borrow it, I would support it. What I wouldn't want is to just be told, we want to increase
we're not able to meet our recurrent expenditure,
so we need to up the money. Let's cut the recurrent expenditure.
Economists opine, and this is a theory that has come up, that where Kenya finds itself in terms of debt, and I'll finish here, is we are in a place where we are either looking at more borrowing and extending the tenure of debt, that's option 1, or option 2, debt forgiveness, or option 3, the worst case scenario, which would be a default. What options do you see for Kenya? Because if we raise to 12 trillion, some ask, when will we stop?
Kenya is a middle-income country. It's a kind of country that you do not want to see with a begging bowl going for debt relief, right? Okay? So you could immediately start negotiating with your creditors. You know, you are basically saying, I'm irresponsible. I'm unable to match my incomes with my expenditure, right? So I want you to forgive me part of the debt because I can't afford to pay. Who will lend you money in the future? Who will invest in your country when you be responsible, right? So whatever we do, we must retain our reputation. Kenya has never gone for any debt relief. In fact, when I was Minister for Finance, I was very proud when, through the High and Indebted Countries initiative, when Kenya was part of the contributors to relieve debts of some of the highly indebted countries. So debt relief, debt default should not be even part of the options. What we must do is put up our socks, revamp our economy, yeah? Ensure that we can support our manufacturing sector, ensure that we can support our intra-African trade, support our Kenya Airways, yeah? So that it's available to ship our flowers and everything into Europe, yeah? Ensure that our infrastructure is good so that farmers can get their goods into the market, right, with minimal cost. You know, there's a whole number of things that need to be done.
Is part of that going to be your priority in the coming days? It's a new year.
To support the government, because I know most of those things. The ease of doing business, right, to attract investments. We have a bill in Parliament already that I hope we will prosecute in the early January. Because if, for example, we are now in the about number 60, top 50, if you can get Kenya in the top 30 in terms of ease of doing business, right? You're going to attract more guys coming in. You got the French coming in to do the Narok Mount Summit road. You got the Chinese doing the overpass. You got, you know, you need to attract so many other guys who are looking for investment, because COVID has also meant that people are not investing in the traditional markets, right? there's lots of money flowing. There's lots of funds that are flowing, looking for where to invest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to
and
stop.
And we want to create that environment for those people to come. But we are not going to create that environment when we are telling them we don't want investors, we want wheelbarrows.
Okay. You've made your point.
Yeah.
As we wrap this up, you've got a busy coming couple of months. One, obviously, as part of your agenda as a Jubilee Party majority leader and a majority leader in Parliament, will be to rally MPs to support a key sort of the agenda in Parliament. And yet we also know that over the last 6 months since you took over, one, there were those who are aggrieved when you took over because they were then removed from their positions. And you could have faced a measure of rebellion in the National Assembly. Talk to us a bit about that. There's been talk of a revolt against you. At some point there were some 189 MPs who are planning to dethrone you. Are you worried about the coming days?
I'm actually not worried.
The comfort of that seat that you sit
on,
not
funny
this
thing,
one, but...
Strange thing, the 189, the number that was quoted was 189 in one of the dailies today, was the number of 189 members in a WhatsApp group. If you look at that WhatsApp group today, now, yeah, people have disappeared from it. Because when it appeared in the papers, they said, kumbe, we were being migrated into this, invited into this WhatsApp group so that we can be shown as a statistic to impeach the leader of majority. So people quit, right? And it's one of those jokes, New Year jokes we can, as we put it. But I have very good rapport with the members of Parliament. Of course, I have 206 members of Parliament within my charge, that the Jubilee and the Jubilee Coalition, 206. So I can't please everyone, but I believe I have a comfortable majority. There is no bill that I brought to the floor of the House that has failed to pass, including the very controversial one on 22nd of December on taxes.
To change taxes.
And everyone has said, hii tutaangusha. But eventually, they passed it, and in a record time. So again, it's how you approach people, and I believe you have a very good rapport with them.
I'm sure many Kenyans will not celebrate that. That has hit their pockets even more, including mine. But
I know, even mine. But we also have to know we were given relief for a couple months, like 6 months, right? We enjoyed some extra income. So now that the government also needs to put some more money into vaccines and everything, and has used most of that money to shield us from dying, from getting more people being infected with COVID, they put measures. Forget all these scandals that you hear. But certainly our health workers have done great things, right? And we need to keep saluting them. The Minister of Health has done wonders, yeah, coupled with security in terms of enforcement of these curfews and all that. If we got careless the way we usually are, the number of infections would have probably been triple what we have. The number of deaths would probably be multiples of what we have. But because of the enforcement and Kenyans' cooperation, we are where we are. That we are talking of fatality rates of about, 1.7, which is less than the global average. We are talking of our infection rates of just about 1%, compared with the US at 6%. So it's a credit to our medical personnel. It's credit to the intervention by government. And hence, anyone earning an income should then be able to say, let me now go back to where we are. But what you may not realize, your tax at the end of January, will not be the same as the tax for the same amount of last January. The relief was increased from 16,800 per annum to 24,000. So everyone has got some extra income anyway.
Okay. And I know that's a debate. Again, we'll have to have you back for this. So even as we wrap up this discussion, you say you feel comfortable as majority leader. And to those who say...
I'm happy with my members.
That your style has been dictatorial, maybe even arrogant? What
no,
would you
I'm
say
not.
To them?
I used to be branded as arrogant up to 2008. I then learned my lessons. That you need to. There are different ways of achieving the same thing without forcing your views on other people. So now I'm more persuasive, and I'm more social with the guys. We sit down, we have teas with them. My office has an open door. You know, anyone can walk in. And hence, the Amos Kimunya of up to 2008, that's about 12 years ago. And now are two different personalities.
You've referenced quite a bit the Deputy President and his allies in some of your arguments tonight.
Yeah.
As Majority Leader of a Parliament with a section of members of Parliament there who really support the Deputy President and his plan for 2022 and beyond, how often do you consult the Deputy President?
If the need arises, which has not arisen in the last 6 months, right? We've consulted before, but in the last 6 months, I wouldn't say here that we've consulted, yeah? But we've consulted with the line ministers, I'll consult with the president, but the Deputy President is my friend. I've known him since 2003, so he's not a stranger to me. I've worked with him, and I know more things about him than most of these, his new allies know. So we share, actually, with all these people who are either aspiring to be leaders and all that. I know we've been with them for long. But in terms of even his allies, a very clear distinction between our work in Parliament and the politics of 2022. And I keep telling them, it's like going to church. Between Monday and Friday, we work. Where you go to church, the Catholics go to Catholic, the Protestants go to their respective churches, and then on Monday, people go back to the office and meet. So I don't care about your 2022 orientation.
Okay.
Yeah? Who you support is your personal decision, and that will be determined on the day of the ballot.
So over the last 6 months, no
But in
consultation.
terms of Parliament, yeah, let's do things on a bill by bill, motion by motion. Yeah?
Okay.
And people will not come and tell me, nobody has ever come and told me the DP has told us to do this. Yeah? Because I wouldn't even see why he would want to do it. I've not been told that Honorable Raila has told people to vote a certain way. Each of these members of Parliament, and I think we have a very enlightened members of Parliament, would vote, first of all, in terms of their own assessment of what's contained in a bill. How does it affect their people? Yeah? How does it affect themselves? Right? They will not vote because they've been told.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've answered my question by not answering my question. So no consultation for the last 6 months, I think.
Well, we've not had any active consultation.
Any active consultations.
Yeah.
And that, okay.
But I also believe that when I consult with the president, the DP is part of the presidency. So he will not necessarily be telling me any different from what the president told me.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it. We're going to leave it at that. Yeah. Amos Kimunya, Majority Leader, National Assembly. And we do want to get deeper into the economic conversation. I hope you have some time for us in February.
Sure.
Once Parliament resumes, once things are on the ground, we'll want to have you back because I know a lot of Kenyans are hoping for a better 2021 than the 2020 they had. Thank you so much.
And they will have it.
And oh, you give them a promise. They will have it.
I'm sure they will have a better 2021. Will certainly be better than 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope you are a prophet as well, in addition to being Majority Leader, because I know many will want to hear that good.
Amos was a prophet.
Okay. Okay, that is true in the Bible. Thank you so much. Amos Kimunya, Majority Leader, National Assembly, Kipipiri Member of Parliament, for joining us for this discussion. And to everyone who tuned in, asante sana. Thank you so much. SMS line 22422. Hashtag has been Newsnight. And we're going to have to wrap it up. They've actually gone beyond our time tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. We do this every Tuesday right here on Citizen TV. And as we get into some heavy political space at this time, you can always rely on Newsnight to keep you updated on the latest. My name is Wahiga Mwaura. Our sign language interpreter has been Yula Nzale. Have a good night and stay safe in this new year. We'll see you soon.